right, if everybody please take your seats and we'll see about getting started. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our 2023 Professional Development Day. We've got a great little lineup today for you of sessions, so hopefully there's something for everybody. We want to make sure I introduce all of our committee members. So if you're one of the committee members, please rise. You've got on one of our shirts. So please, yep. Please thank all these members for helping us set this up today. And I want to especially thank them all because they had to put up with me, so thank you all. So if you have any questions today, if you see anybody with one of these shirts on, just ask them and we can try and help you to get where you need to be, or if you got questions on a specific session, just ask. One of the things that we're doing today, since we're kind of spread out over the campus, we've set up kind of a little tram system. So after this session this morning, we're going to have a couple of carts that are going to be able to drive people from here over to the HSC and Building I. So if you need a ride and you can't walk over there by yourself, go ahead and jump on one of those trams. And we're going to see about doing that between each of the sessions. So if you need to go from HSC to Building B, you'll be able to get on one of those trams to run back and forth, okay? So the tram stops are right out here. You'll see the signs. There's going to be one right out here in front for the UC after the end of this session. And then we're going to move that sign over to Building B. And there'll be a tram stop at Building B. And like I said, it'll run between Building B, Building I, and the HSC. We're going to try and get in and out as quick as possible so we can get everybody over there within the 10 minutes that we've got allotted between each of the sessions. So, does anybody got any questions? All right, well next, let me go ahead and introduce our Vice President, Mr. Peter Elliott. He's got a few comments he'd like to give to everybody this morning. So other than that, I just want to welcome everybody and say have a great day.
Day at South Florida State College.
Yeah.
Where's Keith? All right, well, thank you. Dr. Leitzel is up in Tallahassee meeting with the legislature, which I'm sure is a joy. It's been there, done that. But he wanted to thank you all for participating in this and wishes you all a very good day. I think we have an exciting session, series of sessions today, and that should be good. Don't have any real updates on the legislative front. The budgets are starting to come out, so that'll be entertaining for the next couple of weeks. And there's lots of legislative stuff going on. You've probably read about it all in the paper, and I'm a big press into that. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy get some steps in while you're out. So.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott, who's a true gentleman who's waiting for me to come up. That was very kind. So good morning, everyone. Isn't it great to be back together? Yeah, definitely. So I do have a few prepared comments for you today. All of your presenters spent a lot of time preparing, so I thought I should do the same, right? Right, Dr. Smith? Okay, so first and foremost, let me thank our Professional Development Day Committee Chair, Mr. Don Kesterson, Director of Human Resources. As he already shared with you, Don and his team have been preparing for this event for months, and every member hopes that you find it as rich and engaging as they hoped it would be. Committee members have already been recognized, but I just want to thank them for their dedication to the personal and professional growth of all of us. So, on a personal note, it's buzzing, so I don't know, should I stand back? Having assumed a new role here at the college just over 6 months ago, it has been extremely rewarding to watch how our teams, divisions, departments, committees all work together. I was invited to the Professional Development Day Committee to assist and support their work around this event. And I was immediately impressed by the high level of energy and synergy that this group displayed. They utilized the data provided by previous Professional Development Day surveys. Yes, they read your comments. They made sure to consider multiple types of sessions that would allow everyone at the college to find something just for them. And then they dove into a discussion about what the theme should be centered on, what it means to be at SFSC. They recognize that we each have a personal and/or professional reason that we first came here. And they collectively decided that the common thing was this, that we wanted to make a difference. Would you agree that we still want to make a difference each and every day? I love a positive difference. And why? Because a college and a community makes a difference in the lives of its students, its graduates, families, businesses. How many of you were or are a student in any of the programs at South Florida State College? Almost unanimous. Isn't that amazing? Has it made a difference in your life? Yeah. That's spoken by a graduate over there, right? Yeah. I was a student at South Florida Junior College in the 1970s. I won't tell you what year exactly, or 2 years. The college definitely made a difference in my life. Think about that for a moment as you prepare for the upcoming keynote address. What was your why for having decided to join this team? Do you make a difference in the lives of our students, our colleagues, our community members, our business owners? Just take a moment and think about that. Think about us. And think about ways that we can refresh and reinvigorate our daily work, our relationships, our teaching, our tending, our mentoring, our caretaking, anything and everything that we do to advance the work of South Florida State College and all that it means to all of us. And so today I invite you to join me in deciding that each day, for the remainder of our time here, we will make a positive impact. Decide to be the difference. Decide that your part, however large, however small, will not be left undone. Decide to collaborate with all of us to create a difference in the lives of those around us, and to do so boldly. And on that decisive note, please help me welcome our extraordinary speaker today, Dr. Rodger Smith. I have a brief bio I'd like to share with you. Rodger began his career in adolescent residential treatment services over 30 years ago at the South Florida State Psychiatric Hospital in Pembroke Pines, Florida. During that time, he engaged in behaviorally based modification programs and was introduced both personally and professionally to the harms of alcohol and other drugs on the family system. Following his training in residential services, Rodger served for 4 years as head guidance counselor in a K-12 private school with 700 students. During this time, Rodger began working with in-home service client families where addiction was a primary obstacle to family wellness and success. Following a move to Highlands County in 2000, Rodger took a counseling position at the Florida Center for Addictions and Dual Disorders, working with a team of experts in the addiction mental health field that was focused on integrative mental health addiction treatment. Encouraged by strong in-county 12-step support programs, Rodger began to see the importance of the 12-step model of recovery and began promoting those as a primary behavioral intervention for addiction on almost any given day in any community. Currently, he is a professor of psychology at South Florida State College and continues his involvement with addictions, running psychoeducational groups at local addictions facilities. Additionally, he has studied and spoken often about integrative wellness and the importance of valuing all components of life, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, on the journey toward wellness. Excuse me. He holds a PhD in psychology with a specialization in addictions and is nationally certified as an addiction professional and state certified as a mental health practitioner in Florida. Additional areas of interest include addiction issues of special populations, including the elderly and the genetics of addiction. Please help me welcome our colleague and friend, Dr. Rodger Smith.
I'll just say thank you, Dr. Heston, which I genuinely want to express even a couple more words for her. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had a chance to sit down and kind of chat through some of the stuff that I was going to be presenting. And I got to tell you, it was not only good for me personally, but just encouraging to sit in her office, get some smiles, and we bonded over quoting, I believe. You'll see a couple of quotes here. So seriously, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Leitzel. I know that you're not here. Thank you for the Professional Development Committee, Don Kesterson. Tina, thank you. I don't know where you're sitting, but you get a big thanks out of me, too. Tina had a chat with me in the past 6 months or so about taking an opportunity like this. And it really did sound great at the time. Like I was like, this is gonna be great. And last night about 3 o'clock in the morning when I was tossing and turning, I was like, Tina, what are we doing? But I appreciate them. I appreciate you. Some of the most encouraging professional things that have ever occurred in my life have occurred with people in this room. And you'll probably hear a story or two along the way. There would not be time for me to really express appreciation to the person that I've become as a result of being a colleague, sometimes a listener, rarely a teacher in front. But I've learned so much from walking around our halls. And I would like to kind of just jump off the idea of being extraordinary, making it a difference. And I agree with Dr. Heston, when that first meeting was starting to happen and everybody is discussing things that they would like to see discussed here, the thing that just kept burning in my head is we all started here to do something. And in this particular environment, different than many across the nation, I don't think it was to pick up the biggest paycheck. If that's why you're here, you took a wrong turn somewhere. Okay? Now, but what I do think is I do think that the jitters that I had last night at 3 o'clock about just having an opportunity to spend time with you guys, those same jitters probably hit all of us at one point in our career. Probably the night before we stepped on campus. And we looked at the opportunity that is in front of us, because how can you really go wrong when all you're really tasked with is teaching the next generation to live well? It's a big job. It's a big job for all of us. It's a big job for all of us, and none of us can just do it on our own. It's not a room of one. It's not a classroom of one. It's not a campus of one. It is a collection of people intending to change the world that they live in. And so, as we have students that kind of roll through our lives, and sometimes they're here for a day, sometimes they're here for a week, sometimes they're here for a year. We've been blessed with a couple that have been here 4, maybe even 5 years. As we're blessed to be part of their lives, it is about teaching and educating and informing them of the most important calling that I think everybody has in this room, and that is to make a difference. If you're grinding through life in order to just get to the next day, then you're missing out on one of the biggest blessings that could occur in your world. And that is, you're here to make a difference. You're here to be a change maker in whatever venue or place that you are. And nothing I said prior and nothing I say during the rest of this time together is actually going to be novel or new. I don't even have I checked my PowerPoint like 42 times knowing that there were going to be English professors in the room. And I don't know where it is, but I'm sure there's a spelling error, a typo, or a comma in the wrong place. So I just welcome, if I'm boring, you just check out the slide presentation. You guys find it and send it to me later. That was my 3:30 angst, was the English professors in the room, to be honest. I almost fell asleep, I woke back up, I'm like, they're gonna be there. So, as we kind of move forward and we're taking a look, it really is about arming ourselves as a team, but I don't have anything new to say. I didn't go find new information, and nothing I'm presenting to you today has not already been heard by you. I could almost guarantee it. Because the issue isn't that we need new strategies, the issue is that we need to take ownership of the strategies that really will work if we put them into play. So I regret to inform you that there's not going to be any really new and great information, but I do hope there's good reminders for you. I hope that there's moments in the time that we share together that you're going to just be reminded that, you know what? I really do need to speak more clearly when I'm sitting in a room with people. Or I really need to challenge myself on personal honesty instead of just getting the 5 minutes done so that we can get out the door. There's a ton of stuff on the slides. It's just not new information. And the reason I didn't give you new information is because I wanted to deal with the group that we were mostly here to deal with today, and that is the ordinary. If you are already one of those extraordinary people that is already making all the differences that you need to in your world, then you still need to sit in here probably, but you're not gonna get much, because I really am here to talk to the ordinary guy. I went so far as to bring my wife with me today. Dawn, wave at everybody. Dawn Smith is my better 3/4. Some people have a better half. God knew that when I was growing up that I needed somebody to be the better 3/4 of my world. And so she's my better 3/4, and she's here to confirm for you that I am the most ordinary guy in the world. There's nothing new, there's nothing unique. I'm a guy that tries to wake up in the morning and get his feet moving in the right direction. By the way, this is the earliest I have taught in a long time. I thought it was in my contract not to speak before 9:30. I went back and checked, that's not a true thing. So, so she knows how ordinary I am. She knows that our life is still filled with the same things that your life was filled in before you get here. You see, I see you. You may be ordinary. You may actually be. I see you. You are the person that got up and was 5 minutes late before you got out of bed, even though the alarm went off early this morning. And you were walking out the door and there was papers that could have been flying every which direction. My personal favorite is I try and go back in the house at least 3 or 4 times before I leave and go anywhere to collect different things that I just remembered when I hit the car. And that worked out really well, and I don't mind saying, so I got halfway to the college and I called my wife and said, hey, could you pick these 2 things up because I forgot them. So, and the grind of the day that we live in, I just gotta get to the next place. I just gotta accomplish the next task. I just gotta meet with the next group of people. I just need to smile a little bit more until I can get out of this room and just be how I feel like being. I'm just interested in the ordinary. I'm interested, ordinary, adjective, ordinary, broadly, of a common kind or degree. Those are the people that I'm speaking to today. And see that I have left. Nope, I didn't. I was going to say, I lost something already and it was all on the table. I want to, if you'll humor me, I just want to read a little story that talks about the importance of ordinary making a difference, and then we're going to throttle forward. In 1984, a man named Jadav Piang, also known as the Forest Man of India, began planting trees on a barren sandbar in the middle of a river in Assam, India. At the time, the area had been devastated by floods, and the wildlife that once called it home had disappeared. Despite criticism from villagers and officials who believed that his efforts were futile, Payeng continued to plant trees every day for 30 years. Slowly but surely, the sandbar transformed into a lush forest spanning over 1,300 acres. Payeng's dedication to reforestation not only helped to restore the ecosystem, but created a habitat for numerous animals, including tigers and elephants and rhinoceroses. And I asked my wife this morning if it was rhinoceri, and she insisted it was also rhinoceroses. So today, Payeng's forest is known as the Malai Forest, named after him, and it serves as a reminder of the incredible impact that one person can make. Today, Payeng's work showed that even ordinary people can make a difference, and that the small actions can lead to significant change over time. What a great story about somebody who dug in for 30 years, did something that no one around them thought was important. In fact, most of the people around him thought it was a waste of time. What are you going to do by going out there in the middle of that field and planting 2 trees? And day one didn't look really good. I'm sure his buddies were like having a ball with that one. That's right, you go change the world by planting a tree. And day 2 didn't look too good. And after year 1, he had himself a nice collection of a couple trees. And 30 years later, I was reading about this guy a couple days ago. He was standing leaning on one of the 30-year-old trees that he had planted at the beginning, with tire claws in the side of it, having brought back a whole 1,300 acres in the middle of a community that you and I will probably never get to see. Just making a difference in his backyard, creating the change by doing what? Going to work every day for 30 years and planting at least 1 tree a day. Taking on a personal commitment and a mission to change the world that he was living in. What a great story. That's an ordinary guy. That's an ordinary guy that did a little extra. Jimmy Johnson used to tell his players the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to juice up some of the skills that you already have today to actually be heard in the people's lives around you. Just to take what you already do really well, or take the skills and the strengths that you have and just elevate them just a little bit more. Maybe just 1 more tree for you today you get to plant. Maybe just 1 more. Maybe just seed 1 more conversation that's going to make a difference in the people around you. Because extraordinary, adjective, going beyond what is usual, regular, or customary, exceptional to a marked extent. And I see extraordinary around me. I'm not sure that we celebrate it as much as we actually see it even here on campus. But there are so many great special moments, and there are so many great special opportunities. One of the things I think we may have lost somewhere along the way, and I don't think this was pandemic related, I just think this is people related, is that every single moment that you have in the company of another person is a moment to make a difference. Every single one. There doesn't have to be a wasted conversation. There doesn't have to be a wasted smile. They all are going to contribute to better and bigness. But how do we do that? How do we actually make a difference? And again, there are 500,000 lists of things I could probably come in here and share with you. And I started with a much bigger list than this, and I hope you have some that you can add to in your own life. But as time was only going to allow us to cover some of these, I boiled it down to 3 things. I really want to talk a little bit today about you being able to make a difference by being more connected or being extra connected. I want to talk about you making a difference by being extra communicative. And I want to talk about you guys making a difference by being extra courteous. Now, in the effort of transparency and so that the guys in the back do not really get panic-stricken, I will tell you that most of this presentation is locked into the Be Connected area. So if you're looking and you're like, listen, he's more than 50% done and he hasn't gotten through point 1 yet, I just do want you to know that point one is really where we're going to park, because I think it is actually something that has become difficult for people to wrap into their own world. How do we stay connected? We have faced and lived with some unprecedented things in the past 5-10 years in the world. The pandemic shut down the world and for all practical purposes removed our connectedness to anybody that we didn't intimately just spend close time with. It changed every one of our social arenas. It changed who it is that we interacted with, and it changed how we interacted with them. And as we take a look at that, the truth is that connectedness became something that was a lot harder for us in the last couple of years than it was before then. It was harder to go into a room and feel comfortable. And then things got better. People aren't wearing masks, or for the most part, people aren't wearing masks in this room. The world began to adjust and acclimate to the new norm that it was. And then all of a sudden we were ready to be connected again. But if you're like me, there is some real residual stuff that went on in my life as a result of the pandemic. That separation that I practiced for a year or 18 months in my world of being distanced from people, it actually was harder than I thought it was to break down and break through those walls once I had to get back into the norm. And I still find some comfort, I'm not gonna lie, in the Walgreens thing. They still got their 6 feet dots on the floor, right? Stand here, stand. Listen, and they do that in the bank too. This whole nowhere to stand in line is actually good for a guy like me. I feel like I found my place. Okay, I'm right here until the next one. And so there's still parts of that, good reminders of lessons that we've actually been through and learned. So when I talk about being extra connected, I'm actually talking about 3 things. The first thing is the one that I find most people actually fall incredibly short on, and that is being authentic. Really taking a look at, do you understand what it is that you feel and why it is that you feel that? And I want to tell you, if you're going to connect yourself with other people, you really have to have a good idea of who it is that you are. You have to have a good idea of what it is that's driving and motivating you. And that goes back to that calling, right? The first day that you stepped on campus, you came here to make a difference. You came here to impact people's lives, to change the world around you, albeit I don't know if this is the world you expected to land in. I can tell you, I personally did not expect to land at South Florida State College. I am thrilled I did. I don't know what my life would look like today if I hadn't gotten to spend as much time running around these halls and doing what it is that we do. I am grateful on a daily basis for the opportunities that our institution and our students provide me. Mostly because I learned a long time ago that the healthiest Rodger is a Rodger that is connected with other people. This is also something my wife will tell you. The most unhealthy Rodger is the one that climbs in a hole somewhere, that, hides from people, doesn't really communicate. That's an unhealthy Rodger. And this environment has forced me to play an A game because I take seriously the time that we spend with students, even walking through the hallways. I take that seriously because it is my job, it is my responsibility, and it is my calling to make sure that when they walk in the door, I give them whatever it is that I can to try and help them move forward in life. And can I tell you that we share that calling? And where we fall short is if we don't actually know what it is, how we feel, if we don't have a good understanding of the person that we are, then it becomes incredibly difficult to try and connect into the world around us. The students that come onto our campus, they are looking for grades. They are looking for passes. They are looking for diplomas. They are looking for credentials. That's what they're looking for. That's what they know to look for at 17 and 27 and 47 years old when they step onto a college campus. That's not why we're here. We're not here just to give out diplomas. We're not here just to give out grades. We are actually here in order to connect with them in a meaningful way that is going to make a difference in their life. I wrote a letter to somebody that was important to me many years ago. When I was a young man, I had an opportunity to run into one of my high school teachers who invested well in me. And didn't just invest, by the way, even just for the days I was in high school. This is somebody that invested in me well into my young adult years and was really a significant influence in the middle of a lot of chaos in my life personally. And I had not spoken to, had not seen, frankly, don't even know what was going on in this person's world for many, many years. And one day I decided, frankly, I'll tell you the truth, one day I decided as a result of something incredibly nice that somebody in this room sent me. Somebody sent me an email of gratitude for something really super small. And it struck me, and I felt it for like a long time. It was meaningful to me. And I thought to myself, you know what, I need to pay this forward a little bit. I need to go out there and this was my pay it forward. You may not even know who you are, but I will thank that person. This is where that stems from. So my letter, I am not on Facebook much, but I hope this finds you and finds you well. I've recently had time to reflect on some of the contributions that you have made to my life. And though negligent for many years in reaching out to share thanks for so many things, I know this is a time that I cannot pass this by. In short order, I grew up somewhere along the line, married the best of girls who was a worship leader and lover of God first and foremost in her life. Together we have raised and are raising 3 kids, 23, 19, 17, who genuinely make their dad smile whenever so much as their name crosses my mind. My son is a first-year high school English teacher and sponsor of the drama club. They are truly wonderful kids. There are many, many moments as I moved through middle age and carted kids, my own and many others around, that I thought about the moments that we spent together in a car, at the school, and even in your living room as I adulted poorly. Interestingly, I mostly remember that. Moments, not necessarily in a group, but moments, time that you invested in me. I owe you a debt of gratitude for showing me how to invest well in the young people around me. I've seen myself many times over the past decades reflect on how I might look a little bit like Mrs. Wright. I'm a college professor. I finished a PhD in addiction psychology almost 20 years ago, and I've spent the better part of my career working with addicts and students. I get to see my handprints on the people and things around me on a regular basis, and I see your handprints on me all the time. How do I even begin to say thanks for that? The journey has not always been easy for me. I am still stubborn, egotistical, and unforgiving often. But the world has softened me up over the past couple decades. I still do a lot of stupid people things, but have tried to live out that bigger debt creates bigger love. A story from Luke 7. Thank you for allowing me the time, patience, and opportunity to take big debts against you, Mrs. Wright. It has created a bigger love for you and for those around me. That's somebody who did more than their job, because I'm telling you, 40 years later, I'm standing here with the impact of that person. Mrs. Wright spent her entire career teaching high school English to people who frankly didn't want to learn it. She invested well in the Rodgers of 1985 when they walked through her class, and the Rodgers a decade before that, and the Rodgers for many, many decades after that. I gotta tell you, I think that is a life well lived. I don't know what it looks like in the world that she is, but I can tell you, I would not be who I am without Mrs. Wright. And there have been many Mrs. Wrights that have worked through my own world. And when I think about being authentic, my mission is to find people like that and just go after the path that they kind of put out in front of me. They understood who they were, and they understood how to make a difference. Point number 2 here, let's talk about champion diversity. If you want to connect to people, you need to have a good understanding of what your own feelings are. But man, how important is it to understand the people you're trying to connect to? This is not about agendas. This is not about information. This is not about trying to dump into somebody how to be a little mini me, both in the classroom and in the life room. It's really not. This is about trying to find opportunities where you can actually see how people maybe even differ than you. Where is it that their corner of the world is from? I am struck as we talk about our students on campus that I am ill-equipped on most days to deal with the things that most of our students come to campus with. And I don't say this to draw anything out of you, but the reminder and the awareness that it's been a long time since South Florida State College has been open, that every student that showed up on that day had enough gas in their car to make it home. It's a long, long time. The stressors, the economic stressors, the social stressors. One of the things that I adore about this institution is our first-time in college students. There are very few places, I am convinced, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think there are very, very few places where you actually get to see the product of 3 generations to get a student into the college door, and we get to see that on a regular basis. You see, some of our folks that come from some of our underserved areas, grandparents or even great-grandparents had to make a commitment to put their head down and go to work literally in fields picking every single day in order to get the next generation to the place where they didn't go to college, but they did go to elementary school. And those guys, they jumped into the same field, the same farm, with the same work that their parents did so that their kids could get through a high school education. And 3 or sometimes even 4 generations of effort just to get one of your kind, one of your people into college. There is a reason that, and I will tell you, there is a reason that we have like 10, 12, 15 people sometimes show up for graduation for some of our students. This is a family affair for them. This is a big deal. This isn't another day in the office. This is the hard work of 40 or 50 years of an entire group of people putting their head down and saying, we know that education is important, but we can't do it because you know what? We need to put food on the table. We can't do it because we don't speak a language that allows us to get there easily and efficiently and effectively. We can't do it because we already have been tasked with what's in front of us, which is creating a better world for the people in front of us. And for crying out loud, it might be just 1 tree a day, but I do hope that 30 years from now, we're going to get one of those trees into a college classroom. That's unique, man. I don't believe that's happening everywhere. If you just see the students that walk in the door and you get a picture of what it took to get them here, and I say this respectfully for the it's not just about enrollment, it's about the enrolling for them. It's not a number thing, right? It's about what did it take to walk in the door. Do you remember that when you walk across campus? Some of you do. I can tell. I can tell because I see it in your eyes. I can tell because I see it in your smiles with students. I can tell because I see you always ready to go the extra mile to try and figure out where it is that they came from. One of the saddest things in the past several years for me as an instructor has been, I can tell you since the spring semester of 2020, I have yet to go through a term where one of my students had not lost a parent to the pandemic. That's probably 10 terms now, at least 10 students. I remember one particular student, a young man who came into my first back in the classroom class after things were opening back up. And man, he looked rough in the back. He looked rough. Darkly dressed, I don't want to say that like it, but just looked rough. we spent some time together over that term, and we fixed some of his problems. Actually, Tina from Financial Aid fixed most of his problems. Can I tell you that this young man was walking around on campus, and his story, the long and the short of it is that he got a notice that he was had to pay like $4,200 or something like that for an education here. And one day when he was looking particularly down, I was like, hey, man, what's up? And he's like, my mom told me I'm gonna have to drop out, yada yada. We sit there and talk. Now, this young man had lost his dad a couple months early in the pandemic, very early in the pandemic. And honestly, sitting there and talking to him, I'm like taking pieces of this that I don't really know about, because believe it or not, I'm not a financial aid expert. But I was surprised it would cost somebody $4,200 a year to go here to school. That didn't sound right to me. And so I said to him, I said, well, we need to, what's going on with that? He said, well, my license, whatever problem, I didn't get this. And so it was one of these, he was paying out of state tuition and everything was coming due. I'm like, okay, well, how long have you lived in Florida? He says, I've lived here my whole life. I said, that's a problem we can fix on campus today, man. We can. And I told him that. I said, I don't know how to fix this. I really can't tell you what direction you're going. But I can tell you that I can find you people on campus that can fix this problem, because you're in the wrong lane. You signed up in the wrong list, man. We just got to get you moved to the right list. And no lie, Tina, I don't know where you are, but I think I saw you back over here. Okay, she's out. Well, somebody, I'm going to have to call her now and do this whole lecture with her over the phone, aren't I? Okay, she was fabulous. She took this young man who was 18 years old, who was reeling from the death of his father. He was the oldest of a sibling set of 5 or 6, and there weren't many that were of 13 above him. He was 17, 18 years old. Dad's gone. Mom has a lot of responsibility on a farm somewhere, right? And this kid had to grow up awful fast, so fast he didn't even have time to ask the question of whether I should be paying that much money for college. He was in that grind, move to the next step, move to the next step, move to the next step. He didn't even know he had a problem until we shared some moments together. And I tried to take a really good look. What is the picture and the place that he's coming from? Don't try and be connected with people if you're not trying to meet them where they are, right? Nobody wants to be fake with, nobody wants fake friends. Nobody wants fake friends. And we gotta keep going. Anyway, diversity. Big word on college campuses, big word in the world that we do, but differently used than the way you thought it. Diversity is an appreciation of every single person that walks by you and trying to understand what is the picture of the world that they have. Where did it come from? How is it making a difference in the moments that they're actually sharing and speaking in front of me? How can I make a difference? Appreciating the place that they come from, understanding their feelings. And then finally, you kind of collapse those two things. If you can figure out what it is that you feel and you can figure out what it is that they feel, then all of a sudden, you're able to share something. And that's what we think about when we talk about connectedness. We think about this sharing opportunity. We think about the moments where, okay, you know what? I know what it is like to lose during the pandemic. I know what it's like to lose important people. I know what it's like to lose a father figure. There are moments that we can connect well around us, and they don't have to be 15-hour dispositions and exposés of our personal life. It's just, when on the first couple days of college, one of the things that I do, and folks around here will probably tell you, is I spend a lot of time in these hallways here in the UC. Redirecting traffic is what it looks like I'm doing. It looks like I'm redirecting traffic. Do you need help? What can I do for you? Do you know what I'm really doing? I'm trying to just create a little bit of a culture of comfort. Because I remember what my first day in college was like. It was disastrous. It really, really genuinely was. I went to Rutgers University when I started out, and I remember the registration lines that were like 1.5 miles long in newspapers that you had to go sign up for your classes, right? And I was always the guy that you spend like 2.5 hours in line, and then you get up there, and then the registrar will tell you, oh, sorry, that one just closed, back to the back of the end of the line, and you had to start that. I remember how intimidating it was. I remember how frustrating it was that the things that everything made sense to the people around me I didn't really know. I remember being scared at 18 years old and walking onto that campus. I also remember literally signing up for every class that the person in front of me signed up for so that I didn't have to go back through the line. And I did, this is no lie, I declared myself as an undeclared major because that's what he was declaring. His name was Ray Danielowicz. We never met each other before registration, and we did several years of college, every single class together, because we were lost in the system together. He became an attorney, which is really kind of fabulous, because I don't know how anybody followed me went anywhere in life, but that was my first college day, so you know, August 26th or August 28th or whatever day it is that we kick off, those feelings and memories are well in my brain, man. I am feeling the anxiety of what it looks like to be on campus for the first time. And that's an experience that you had too. Just because we're a public institution and a state college does not mean that people that pull onto our campus, A, know what they're here to do, or B, are comfortable doing it. And we really do have the opportunity not only to brighten their day a little bit in the short term, but make a difference in the long term with something like that. So, on the being extra connected, and I'm not going to walk through these in a whole lot of detail, but I want to tell you that there's a couple prerequisites. It's kind of a process. You need to take care of yourself. It starts out at the beginning. You have to be a pretty healthy you in order to want to connect healthily in the world that is around you. We talk about this word self-care. I had a great opportunity in this same room to chat with the PTK wellness group the other day, and we got to spend just like 45 minutes just talking about self-care. Just talking about how is it that people need to elevate who it is that they are personally inside of their lives to feel good, to be well, and to be good contributing members. And a couple of the highlights, and it's the act of taking care of your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. A couple of those highlights are sleep well. That's a good one. I used to say that was a really good one for students because they have horrible sleep habits by and large. I cover this significantly, extensively in every single classroom that, every single class topic area. I have a speech lecture, and it really sounds the same. And honestly, I could probably give it to some of you because some of you look a little tired this morning, I don't mind saying. But the truth is that, and you actually may not know this, when we talk about your physical well-being, one of the things that we think happens during the sleep cycle is that the cerebral spinal fluid actually washes your brain. Happens during the REM sleep cycle, which is about 10 minutes for every hour and a half that you sleep, or about 10 minutes every 90 minutes. And what that cleaning of the brain does is it actually removes what we're going to call extracellular junk. The extra stuff that's kind of floating around in there that doesn't really attach. Now, this is actually fairly new. We've known for a long time that you need to sleep, and we've recommended that you sleep for 8 hours for many, many years, but we're just piecing together part of the puzzle. Because what we figured out is if you don't sleep for the necessary amount of time, you don't get another retry at that. You just lose the good that was going to happen in that moment. It's not that you can't sleep later and physically feel better. It's just if you don't sleep on a cycle that allows for that CSF to kind of wash out some of that extracellular junk, it's just accumulating and adding up. And we start this now with video. Frankly, we start this with video games with 7- and 8-year-olds right now. But we're beginning to see, it's not unusual for half of my class not to have slept 5 hours the night before. Our students are coming to class tired. Our employees are coming to work tired. Our world is so busy and we have so many distractions that it's a tired kind of thing as you're worn out before you get there. What is the consequence of extracellular junk accumulating inside of the brain? Anybody know that? We're looking at that as actually very, very much a part of the cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, and some of the stuff that we see in the brain. So when I'm teaching students at 19 years old and I'm begging them in order to get onto a good sleep pattern today and keep that for 40 years, it's not that they will see the difference tomorrow, it's that 40 years later they might really see if they don't. Nobody wants to wake up with cognitive decline, and if there's anything that we can do, and that's just on the sleep thing, eating well, right? I think my words to them were something, it was like sugar. I'll just say the word sugar and then this, sugar, stop it. Just we'll do it that way. It's not that I am trying to steal from you things that you might enjoy. The truth is sometimes some of the things that we enjoy a lot aren't the healthiest for us. And a lot of food choices that we make. On that, I'll just also say, if you have not seen anything green on your plate in the last 2 or 3 days, please try and fix that today. You might need some of those vegetables. You got to take care of yourself in order to be good and to be able to invest well. And if you're able to do that, then I try and share this next line in almost anything that I do. It's a little tagline that Rodger Smith tries to attach to most of his stuff. And that is, I want to be heard in everybody's life. Many years ago, actually as a result of having children of my own, one of them specifically, I don't mind telling you, I realized that it didn't matter what I said, how I said it, and what I was wearing when I said it. They didn't hear me. There was literally we went for 17 years, and I'm not sure they heard anything that I said. And I'm like, what does it really mean to be heard in somebody's life? And then all of a sudden I thought, the problem that Rodger has when he's talking about being heard is he wants them to do something. And I started to think through that, and I'm like, well, the truth is, if I want to be heard in people's life, isn't that on me? Don't I need to do something differently? And so I kind of came up with this thing, which is, I just want to help everyone always reach deeper. When I'm in a conversation with my kid and I don't think that they are listening, this is like one of those things that's resident in the back of my mind. What is it that they need in order to get to the next place in their life? And so we need to take care of ourselves, and then we need to be able to hear and see and feel the people around us, not for the purpose of fixing them, but for the purpose of understanding them. We approach so many of our relationships and so many of our tasks as, I am going to save you from this problem you don't even know you have, and here's what we're going to do. If the world would just do it my way, then it would really be working out a lot better. That's the way we approach a lot of relationships, but the truth is, maybe our time is better invested trying to understand the people around us instead of trying to fix the people around us. That was worthwhile, guys. That was worthwhile. If that's all you get out of this, maybe your time is better spent time to trying to understand the people around you and not fix the people around you. That's what it's going to be. Okay, moving on. If we understand the people around us, we're going to be armed up and we're going to be able to figure out how to empower the people around us, how to help people believe in themselves, their experience, their abilities, and that sounds like what we should be doing in students' lives and with each other around campus. That sounds like a good plan for coming to work today. Here's the thing I want to do. I want to help you believe in yourself. I want to help you believe that your experience helps you get there. I want to help you believe that you have the abilities to be able to succeed at an extraordinarily high level, or whatever level it is that you can do that on. And then finally, if we are able to take care of ourselves, if we're able to see, hear, and feel other people around us, if we're able to understand, if we're able to invest into empowering, then all of a sudden, we are faced with one of our biggest callings. We are going to be able to serve others. We're going to be able to engage the people around us. I call that a people sphere, by the way. Your people sphere has a lot of different levels, but everybody that you run into is part of your people sphere. And when you find ways that you can make their life better, man, that is very, very empowering. Not only to them, but you want to smile. You want to feel like you did or accomplished something good. change what someone's reaction is. Watch the light go on in their head. Watch them be connected with, my gosh, it was that connection and that person and that experience. And you're standing, and man, I'll tell you what, I like it when students learn. I like it when I'm standing in a classroom and it's like, man, that makes a difference, right? Okay, I finally got that piece. I like to see the light bulb go on. I sometimes think, as adults, employees, as the people that we are, I sometimes think that we put our head down and we really make our mission about what we need to navigate for the day. What do I have to get done? What's on my list? And the truth is I don't, this personal opinion, but I don't think that's what you were here for. I'm not going to tell you that there aren't great things to enjoy individually and personally in the world that you live, but I actually do personally believe that every single person in this room is called to something much bigger than their own stuff. And I think that calling is about helping people see who it is that they are, be able to move forward. Okay, and then I'm not going to go through these because we would be here all day. But I'll tell you this, 10 surefire ways to connect with people. I want to hit a couple of them that I think are super important. Respect people's boundaries. That's just one, that's like one for you to underline there. Move past the surface level. Don't try and have these really slick 40-second interactions that are going to be world changers, but really if you want to try and connect with people, it's going to take a little bit more than, hey, how are you? Oh, great. Oh, good connection. Right? It is actually going to take the 3 minutes, the 5 minutes, and sometimes the 50 minutes to elevate the conversation, to spend time actually getting into where their life is. It's not just going to be the things that you see, it's going to be the things that are down here deeply. That's the goal. Let's see, schedule your time. I cannot say enough about using the schedule to your advantage to be a change maker. Yeah, I'm using routine, using the things that you have planned and scheduled in your life. And the one I really wanted to hit was offer a smile. I will tell you, I've seen such fabulous examples on our campus of people that smile well. I'm like talking like, see, this is the way it used to be before cell phones, like most of you guys know, right? You used to step into an elevator and you didn't have anything to distract you. So right now, if you jump into an elevator with our students, I promise you this, and if you're in an elevator with me, you will see this play out time and time again. As soon as that elevator door closes, I always say, hey, grab your phones, it's time to look disinterested in everybody around you. Now, my office used to be on the 3rd floor of the B building, and I can tell you authoritatively that at least during the first 5 or 6 years I was on campus, that there was no cell service in the elevator. And then I started calling people out on that. They're like clicking things. By the way, that's not going to send. There's no cell service in here. Right? So, smile. If you pass by me and I don't smile, that is on me, and I do not intend that. I want to exit my time at SFSC in like 15 or 20 years, believe it or not. I want to exit when I am out of here as the guy who smiled everywhere. I think I hit about 82% right now. That's where I'm at. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm about 80, but then and there are times I'm like, well, I didn't even have to smile with people. And what I learned in the past couple of years is people don't really want you to smile. They don't want you to make eye contact. People don't want to be connected with you. Our students would rather show up, learn nothing, change nothing, be nothing different, because they actually thought they were okay when they got here. And so you walk around campus, you're like, well, hey. And some people, I want to say, some people are fabulous in this room. Some put me to shame. There's like, I'm like, how do you do that all day long? And some of you are miserable at it. Take it for what it is. I'm not your boss. But some of you are so bad, I'm depressed walking by you on the walkway. It's like, I'm like, I see you. I'm like, it doesn't cost you anything. And it's not even just for them. Most of you probably know that when you smile, a little chemical kicks around inside of your brain called oxytocin. It's actually it makes you feel more content and connected with the world that you have. This is a free one. And I don't want to say it harshly, but I want to tell you, we can all improve this a lot. Students should not walk onto our campus without being smiled at. They certainly shouldn't make it past 2 or 3 or 4 employees without feeling welcomed. That should not happen, and unfortunately, I think it does. Do you know why? Because that student that walked in the door at 10:20 into the front door of the building didn't realize I've been working hard since 8:30. And I got someplace to be at 11. And I still got 4 things I never thought about doing this afternoon. And so when I'm walking by my students, I'm going somewhere. It's only 44 feet, Jon Snow told me, so you gotta be careful here. And the truth is that's one of my big mistakes, and it's one of your big mistakes too. They are not just our consumer group. They are part of the human population that we are here to instruct, to care for, to help get to the next place. And shame on us, all of us, for getting too busy sometimes, too in our head, for the next meeting to be too important for us to actually hit to the heart of the student that we're just, frankly, just needed a smile. I know some of you have had similar experiences, and I'm a psychic guy, so I try and feel people when I'm walking by or whatever, but I'm the guy, I will stop a student if they don't look well to me. It's not unusual to feel a student moving past me and know that there's just way more going on there than they're able to handle on their own. And I can remember just even down this one hallway in the past couple of years, I was walking by, probably busy, I was like walking by a student, and I felt it, man. I felt that angst, I felt that anxiety. I don't know what was going on in their life, but I literally walked by them and it hit me. I was like, and I got like steps away, and I'm not gonna lie, I had someplace to be. I had really important things to do that were job related. I don't remember what they were, but I had things to do, I had people to see, I had places to go. And I literally walked by this student, I felt it, and I'm like, nope, Dr. Smith, you keep walking, you keep walking, you keep walking. I almost made it to the door, I'm like, damn. Hey, everything okay? 40 minutes into the office, connecting with somebody on campus that could really help. Tears. It wasn't hard. I almost missed it. I'm sure I have many times missed it. You know, I can tell you the times and the stories where I feel like I hit a home run, but I'm pretty sure I miss a lot more than I hit home runs on. I'm glad I grabbed that kid. I couldn't be, I don't mind telling you, I could not live with some of the things that some of our kids, our students, and some of the people that walk onto campus here have to live with on a daily basis. I don't feel like I'm called to that. Maybe there's just places and corners of their world that are so difficult. I mentioned the gas thing earlier. I feel that when students are walking around campus. You know, I could sit there and say when a student says, I didn't have gas money to get over to campus. I've gotten those emails, most of us have. And man, I gotta tell you, everything inside of my heart wants to say, oh, that's just an excuse. But the truth is it's not just an excuse for everybody. There are real economic hardships in the student population that we have. You would be surprised at the number of students who don't come to school here because they are taking care of a baby at home, and it's not their baby. It's their mom's. It's just part of their family system. It's part of the role that they were called to be. You would be shocked at how the pressures of being a second or a third parent. You know, we have students, many years ago, but 8 or 9 years ago on campus, I had a young man that was working in Walmart all night long in the shipping or receiving department. And so he would show up for my class at 9:30, and he was exhausted. And it was not unusual for him to nod off in class. And this young man and I, we struck it out pretty good. And so he came back to see me for his second class. And as we spent time together and I got to watch his life unfold, that young man went to work every single day. Every dollar he made went to raise a family that he was a son in, not necessarily the father of. His commitment was to make sure that he had 40 hours of a paycheck so that his mom could help pay the rent. And on top of that, he was trying to better his life and get an education because he didn't want to do shipping and receiving in Walmart the rest of his life. Man, I don't know if I got that in me. I complain when I have a little bit more to do in the one job I have. I don't have an action plan for, I say, you need to sleep, and him looking at me being like, I don't have time to sleep. I don't have that in my world. Anyway, offer the smile, that's the free one. I cannot see the time, the clock in the back. Baby, what time is it? 9:36 is perfect. That seems perfect to me. We should be done by 9:37. That's a lie. That's not going to happen. So here you go. So I learned when I was meeting with Dr. Heston that she has an entire 3 rooms of books of quotes in and around campus. She literally, if you need a quote on anything, I'm gonna volunteer. I'm gonna offer. Just call her. She'll be happy to stop and find it. But one of the things that I like about quotes, and it's probably a little bit of an odd behavior, I like to try and figure out where they actually came from, not where we think they came from. And so this one, I actually think Dolly Parton maybe came up with this, but I'm pretty sure it was not John Quincy Adams, as is mostly attributed. But here we go. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And I would take it a different step. If your actions are not to inspire others, not to help people dream more, not to help people learn more, not to help people do more, and not to help people become more, then you shouldn't work here. Right? Don't go work in an institution that is here to serve the greater public good and not want to serve the greater public good. I don't think I'm speaking to a lot there, but it might be 1 or 2 of you. And I don't, again, not to say this harshly, if you don't love your job and you're not passionate about making a difference in the lives of the people that are around you, both the colleagues and the coworkers that you're working with and the students that we get to see and the other consumer groups and stakeholders that come on campus, then do us all a favor and consider a different career path. Because over time, unhappiness and loss and lack of focus, loss of vision, resentment at the fact that you have to show up here, that's not fair to the people around you. You really are a leader. And I know there are people in this room thinking, well, Rodger, I'm not really a leader. All I do is behind the scenes over here, nothing, yada, yada. Oh. The impact that you will have just by taking the role in the position. If you're an employee of South Florida State College, then you're an important part of this mission to touch our students. So don't avoid them. You know, if they're walking by you and you're doing your job and it's in the middle of a walkway, you still have the same responsibility to smile. You know that, right? We're not teaching they're busy doing their job. So I don't know how many guys go to Kelly's Corner. I don't know if they are over here. I run into those guys a couple times a week, and I am always so grateful for my interactions over there because they are just genuinely good smilers for me. They're genuinely just good people. They actually contribute significantly to the wellness of the student that we have on campus. I am convinced that there is a student for every employee that we have here for you to invest well in. I'm going to stop short of the mentor line there, although I do think most of us need to be mentoring more. think that's a real calling that we have as people on campus here. Not just to get paid, but really to invest even on a deeper level by mentoring. It does not matter what your job is. It does not have to be from behind a podium in the front of a classroom. It does not have to be from behind the right desk in the right office. It doesn't have to be because you move bigger or smaller things around. It does not matter to me what you're doing. You have a responsibility to connect and make a difference. And I just want you to hear it. If you're in this room right now, I'm looking around and I don't see anybody that isn't. I just want to call you out as a leader. Even if you don't feel like that. Even if you spent your whole life convinced that you were a follower. There's other people are leading. If you are here and you are part of this vision and you are part of this mission, then you are a leader. So, lead. Right? And if you don't know what that looks like, go backwards. Well, today I choose to inspire. Today I want to help people dream more. Today I want to help people do more. Today I want to help people become more. Because you're the leader. Okay, so that is a good look at connectedness and the way that we connect, how we kind of move together and merge. But it's not necessarily the only thing that we would want to look at in making a difference. We want to make sure that we are connected, but we also want to make sure that we are extra courteous. And this one, I think, is pandemic pronounced for me, really. In the past 5 years, there's been a significant shift and change in some of the things that are happening in our world and how we interact with each other. And so the pandemic, and there is nothing new on this list either, but I just want to tell you what the past couple of years has done for us. It's had a profound impact on our society. Here's a number of them. Number one, isolation and loneliness. We practiced not being together and not being connected for a long period of time. Some of us, and I actually would throw myself into this, just in a moment of candor, some of us lost ourselves a little bit in that. That was not healthy for me. The pandemic was very, very difficult for me, and not because I like people, but I prefer not people most days. And so when I found a lane by which I didn't necessarily have to be connected, I thought it was going to be a really nice place for me. And I practiced. And something I didn't realize was happening at the same time, and this probably happened for some of you guys. I not only practiced, but I trained my body to respond to situations and stimuli around me. And I didn't like to go and do some of the things I was doing before. And so that thing called anxiety that has gripped a lot of America as a result of this pandemic, it gripped me. I struggled going out into public places. I struggled with being able to put even a smile on my face. I didn't love not being, but I loved not being more than I loved being, because it began to physically change my responses in those situations. My heart would race. That pit in the stomach. I remember pulling up in front of I don't think it was Walmart, but one of the big box stores. I remember pulling up one day and I was shaking in order to go into a store. And that was all self-trained. Now, I accept the fact that most of you are probably healthier than I am. At least at that point in time. I would like to say that there is no residual impact of that disconnected that occurred in our society in my life, but that would be untrue. That would be very untrue. I struggle almost on a daily basis with some of the things that have happened as a result of the world and the shutdown and the craziness. I didn't even get down my list, right? I got to one. Isolation, loneliness, economic hardship, mental health issues. Yeah, by the way, we have factually increased levels of anxiety, depression, and other mental illnesses as a result of the pandemic. That's a thing. We don't have less things wrong with mental illness in the world today. We actually have more. In spite of the fact that everybody had years to just work on themselves. Imagine that. Changes in education. Educational changes were one of the biggest societal areas hit by the pandemic. There's long-standing change. Can I just remind you that the student that walks in today, the student that walks into our institution today, there is a greater than 80% likelihood chance that they didn't spend some of their time in their high school, right? That the world shut down when they were in high school, that they couldn't be connected. I had teenagers during the pandemic. I'm not sure if it would have been easier with or without that. Maybe I should just say, I had teenagers and everybody would and my kids did well. They really did. They kept lanes that they were comfortable with and that their mom and I were comfortable with. But it was different. It was a weird world when all of a sudden best friends weren't allowed over to the house. And you really didn't see your people's sphere. You didn't connect with it. And I think my kids navigated that well. I think they successfully landed that well, but not every student did. In fact, there's many students that didn't. In fact, there's many students on campus today that didn't. And we go right for the fact that, well, they're just not doing their work because they didn't have to do that 3 years ago because they were just going to push them through. That's the conversation in our head. But the truth is, some of our kids missed important learning moments in life because the world shut down for 2 years. And whether they did or didn't go to school, their world wasn't any easier than yours. It's a weird world when you can't connect the way that you thought you could before. Increased domestic violence, also a thing. And something that I think we're going to be talking about for the next several decades is societal change. We as a society are forever changed as a result in the impact of that. And we're living it out every day, aren't we? I mean, I don't know what it would look like to be a 16-year-old and pick up the newspaper and read the things that are going on in our world through the I at least have some information. I mean, I understand what interest rates are, and I understand what the Federal Reserve does, but I gotta tell you, if I'm a kid right now, I'm worried about nuclear war from someplace in the world, and I'm worried about whether or not $17 an hour is actually a good enough wage in order to be able to put gas in my car and maybe have rent paid for at some point. I'm worried about whether or not I actually have the time, effort, and energy to navigate through an educational system. If I'm 17 years old, the world should be full of optimism, and it is for many, many, many young people, but the truth is, we were part of the generation that didn't go to school their junior and senior year, and then they had to jump into college. And those college situations weren't really any better. We've some dear friends of ours that had students go, and the college, talking to families about what was happening in their college students' life. They're on campus wearing masks, not allowed to communicate or really associate. How do you do labs without being next to somebody, by the way? There's hundreds of learning things that we just, we changed on the fly. We're like, we're going to educate this way. But these specific students that were actually coming through the door, that were sitting down in our classrooms right now, some of them missed important markers along their educational and social development. Some of them really did. And we're in the mode of, we just want to see a behavior change, but the truth is we need to engage the person so that we can help them get to that next level. I don't want to get into Eric Erickson here, but I wish I could. I don't know why I said that. I should have just passed if I wasn't going to go there. Don't say it if you're not going there, Rodger. We're not talking about Eric Erickson today. Thank you. Okay, so how can I be extra courteous? This is where you need to be tactful. These are skill. These, by the way, this is the meat of what it is that you're taking home. So jot one of these down and try and put it into your life. Why don't you be tactful? Tell the truth in a way that you actually value the other person's experience around you, right? You understand what their feelings are. You know what their culture is. And we can even try and predict what that reaction was all about. Being courteous is being tactful. Notice what it is not. Being right. Right? I don't know. By the way, in order to be extra courteous, you need to be right. So many of us park in the lane if it's just about whether we're right. We sit in a meeting and we sit in a meeting together. There's people talking next to us. But we really want to be heard. So we talk louder. A lot of people in this room have that same problem where you start answering a question in your head before you heard the whole expression out of somebody else's mouth, right? Being courteous, be tactful, be open, be genuine, be authentic, be who you are. That's good enough, by the way. They hired you. They're good with who you are. Be you. Accurately perceive your own emotions. Work on you. Understand the moment, your tendency across situations. This is something I think is really important, and I don't think I said it as neatly and cleanly as I would like to, but I couldn't figure out how to filter it down anymore. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Predict your own behavior in certain situations. It will make you a better human being. If I know that I do not like to get cut off in the middle of a sentence, then I already know how it is that it makes me feel. And a lot of times I jump into the behavior, I don't like getting cut off, and then all of a sudden I'm a little chippy. That's the word that I use, by the way, chippy. And I get chippy with the people around me, and the truth is I need to understand who I am. Where did somebody just step on my toes? Why do I find that particular voice tone disruptive, annoying, unsettling, anxiety-producing? What are the stressors in my world? Where is that kind of impact place when people are coming at me? And the thing is openness is exactly that. This is not. This is. Bring it on. Let's do it together. And then finally, be honest. I actually find most people think that honesty is a harder task than it really is. Most people have really good reasons for not just being candid and open, straightforward. Just communicate what you know to be true. Honesty is I really believe this, honesty is one of those kind of game changers in a person's world to make them who they are. I spent a number of years working in addiction treatment, right down the street here, by the way, right here at the end of campus at the Florida Center. And one of the things I learned very, very quickly is that honest people are going to not generally show up in treatment. So I actually worked in a job where every day I went in, I was pretty sure that everybody else was dishonest. The clients that are addicts really have an overwhelming. Addicts are dishonest people. They practiced actually lying in order to be able to accomplish what they want in their life. And I will tell you that one of the biggest and best strategies that I've handed, I'm not literally probably hundreds or thousands of addicts in my group, is I've blown their mind by basically saying, here's the first thing you need to do. Get honest with yourself and get honest with people around you. And I talk about honesty like this. I don't have time to go there. I could do a whole hour on this myself. But honesty, inside of the 12-step models, honesty is part of I admitted I was an addict and my life has become unmanageable. And people think that admission is the honesty. Honesty is talked about in 12-step addiction recovery as a rigorous, sweat-producing process. As that when it's sitting here and you don't want to speak truth on it and it makes you sweat, that's the type of honesty that alcoholics and drug addicts need to give in order to get well. They will not get well without such rigorous honesty that it produces sweat. It's that much work in their life. I want to say that honesty is work. Maybe it doesn't produce sweat for you, but it needs to be work. If you're not working at being honest, then you're probably leaving something on the table. I cannot see it. What is it? Oh, we're even better now. Look at me go. So I was 100% sure that I was either going to be 5 minutes or 5 hours and 5 minutes in my preparation. And as it turns out, we're going to hit it right on the nose. So I'm pretty happy about that. Here is something from, and this is, you see it's definitely JC here, right? So be true to yourself and keep things simple. People complicate things. And I do believe that we have created so many clouds of mystery around the things that we're trying to say sometimes that we're missing the importance of just open, honest, authentic. Okay, and then finally, and I'm not gonna cover a lot of these. I actually think there's some sessions happening today that are gonna do this justice. And it's definitely some of the soft skill stuff and the trainings that are gonna be happening. I feel like being extra communicative is something that everyone knows that we should be focused and working hard on. And I've spoken on this subject. I've spoken on this subject at Professional Development Day in the past. At the end of the day, we need to listen. And I've got 4 keywords here. It does not matter to me what you do, but actively, cleanly, keenly, closely, carefully. Really, listening requires you to be all in the conversation with another human being. And you can do that with your body. You can do that with your facial expression. You can do that with head nods. You can do that with reaffirming space, reaffirming kind of, yeah, okay, I get where you're at. But listening is an active, participative activity. Listening is not passive. You are not on your computer watching television and listening to Alexa kick out something you're not listening to all 3 of those. You're just kind of existing in that space. You're collecting a bunch of stuff and noise and stimuli that's coming around, and your body's doing what was always intended to be, which is it's processing that and it's kicking it out 1,400 different directions. But listening requires you to engage in the moment. How many times have you found yourself totally unaware of what the conversation is that you're involved in? Okay, good. I would admit, I wish I was in the other 50% of you that clearly have never had that issue, but I saw a couple people and I'm like, okay, it's not just me. It happened to me today. I was thinking about something that was really super important, right? I'm going to stand up in front of a group of people. My boss is there, my boss's boss is there, my boss's boss's boss is there. And I thought that my boss's 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 boss would be here, but he's in Tallahassee fixing the world. So I got to take that one off my list, but it doesn't make it any easier, right? And so I forget what I was just saying. What was that? Oh, yeah, see? Woo, thank God somebody was listening. The funny thing is thank God my wife was here, because the rest of the room was like, I don't know what we're talking about either. We're talking about listening. So it makes sense now, right? Okay, so, it happened to me this morning because that's the way our worlds go. We are just people on a journey of the human experience, every single one of us. We may not navigate it the same. We may not have started from the same place, and we may not end up at the same place. But our lives have intersected well. We all sit in the same place, and we sit together right now, and we share something. And the listening part is you notching it up to be important. You need to let the people that are sitting in front of you, what they're saying is important. You need to own it. You need to be active there. It's not about making them feel good because they were heard. It's about hearing them. It's not about the answer that you already know because you already knew that in the first 12 seconds of them speaking. It's about giving them their opportunity. It's about engaging that people's sphere that way. And then speaking, clear, concise, concretely, correctly, all things. I've covered a couple of these, but the truth is, many of us should really target what we're trying to say and eliminate some of the stuff that's extra that's just getting in the way. I am not necessarily an advocate for not having, great intellectual and deep conversations with your mates. By all means, do that. But I am going to tell you that the people that walk by you don't really need a 13-hour explanation on why you're not going to allow them to do X, Y, or Z. Most of our students really don't care what the policy and the procedure is behind it. If the answer is no, can we just cut to the chase? Because that's all they're going to hear anyway. And the worst thing that happens is when we don't communicate clearly with students or with each other, people walk out the door with different stories. I know this. Again, I am the dad of teenagers. I often encounter differences in a very, very clear speech pattern that I feel like I had. One recently, just the other day, I don't mind telling you, I don't mind sharing. So what do you get? You might even have my little one corn, right? So the other day she came home and was doing her thing, and the next day I woke up and I said, was there something unclear in the sentence that said, please take the dog cage and the dog out of my bedroom tonight, right? She usually has in her room, and then she was away, and then I was crystal clear. I'm like, this is not hard, is it? Please make sure this task happens. I thought I was being clear. The next day, of course, I'm talking to my kid, and she looks at me and she's like, you did say that. Well, congratulations me. I said I noticed it at like 1:30 in the morning when I was putting the puppy in the cage in my bed down for sleep. So as clearly as we want to speak, can I just tell you the problem there with my kid is I didn't speak to my kid where she was at that moment. I told her what needed to happen. I believed the head nod that she was walking by with. And I thought, good, we just fixed that problem. I'm not going to have the dog in my room tonight, right? And then at like 1:15, the dog is in my room. Because I didn't speak clearly. I only thought I did. Speaking clearly means that you need to take the extra time to make sure that you're being heard. And when I talk about concrete, when I talk about short, what I really am saying to you is clean up your speech, especially around campus, and I don't mean dirty language. I mean, clean up your speech. Make it efficient. Make it worthwhile for students. If we're going to tell them that they need to go to financial aid, can we just do it this way? In the bottom of the B building, off to the left side when you walk in, is a big door that says financial aid on it. Go in there. They'll be able to help you. That's a lot different than, oh, you see that building over there? Well, if you go in there, and then you can just boom, boom, boom. We can speak more clearly even on unimportant issues around campus. And think how much better that's going to be when we really have something to say. Really, something as important as take the dog cage out of my room. When you do the practice, that one's going to work. Okay, and then finally, we need to avoid in our communication some things that come natural to most of us as human beings. We need to avoid interrupting. We need to not have something to say before we've given that other reminder, human being. Maybe at the moment you don't think they're as important as you are, but they are actually granted the same rights, privileges, and responsibilities as you are in the human race. And so let's just give them their moment, even if we don't think that they deserve it. Some of us have become professional interrupters because we feel like what we have to say is way more important than what anybody else has to say. Stop that. You don't know what somebody has to say if you're concocting an answer in your head when they start talking, because you're not listening. Some of the best moments in my life have come as a surprise by hearing them out of a place that I never thought I would. I've heard incredible wisdom out of 15-year-old mentally ill girls in a psychiatric unit. I've seen and heard stories out of 20 and 30-year-olds in my workplace that have truly revolutionized my world and changed who I am as a person. I've had the privilege of sitting under people I would call elders. I'm getting there myself now. I don't know when that happened. 30 years I've been doing something. I can't believe I'm 30 years old. But anyway, I've sat under amazing mentors in rooms with people that have spoken such great truth at high levels. And the truth is, I learned a long time ago that I really do need to be a better listener. I still actively work on that every day. It doesn't come natural to me. Most people think if you're a psych guy that, oh, well, you gotta do counseling. Can I tell you, I'm the worst counselor in the world. They let me have that job for like 5 months before they made me a clinical supervisor. I'm a way better administrator than I am a counselor. Because I don't like listening about people's problems for like endless hours, right? But I've learned how to do it, and I've learned how to do it not there, just in my 5 minutes. You know, even inside of the classroom, I believe it's important that every student gets the voice that they want to have. I don't always agree with the things that they would choose to say or even the way that they're going to process the material we're talking about. I don't always love the style or the presentation, and sometimes I think it's out of arrogance and for the wrong reasons. But I think every student needs to have their voice. Can I go on a limb and say I think every employee needs to have their voice? Every one of us. We need to have a voice, and the truth is, how frustrating is it in employment and in workplaces when you just want to make sure you communicate 3 things and you know they stopped listening after 1. You might not be able to change it for the people around you, but this is what you can. You can change you for the people around you. Model not interrupting. Model not having the right answer before the question was asked. Model those things. And then don't criticize, judging, and my favorite, opining. Your opinion, though warranted and maybe even valuable, your opinion is not necessarily what everyone else is looking for. So, we took a journey. We're actually wrapping. And the journey takes us from how to be extra connected, how to be extra communicative, and finally, how to be extra courteous. They may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that is actually probably Carl Boehner from the LDS Church, probably not Maya Angelou, but it is mostly attributed to her. They may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Thank you. And then just final slide for you to read on your own, because some of you guys are struggling a little bit, so there you go. What happens next? Oh wait, another round of applause for Dr. Smith. Another rousing round of applause for Dr. Smith. Hey, honestly, thank you. What a privilege. What a privilege.
You took mine. I was going to do that. Well, one more time. Come on, one more time for Dr. Smith. So real quick before we get out of here, I got just a couple of things. Sierra and Elena, are you guys here? Want to thank them for doing the decorations today. So if you see them, thank them for the decorations. Also, all the new people. Do we have who's the first timers? This is our first time coming to Professional Development Day. If you raise your hand. Make sure you guys say hi to these people, okay? This is our first time here, so these are all our new employees, so make sure you say hi and welcome, okay? So hopefully the rest of the day goes well. If you have any questions or need anything, like I said, try and find the people with the shirts on, and we can try and help you with whatever you got. So let's go, enjoy, and we'll see y'all again next year.